Today's video is not sponsored by Cherry Coke, but I'm out of beer and a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Doesn't quite have the same effect as beer, but it sure is tasty. Alright, so it is a real cloudy, nasty Sunday afternoon. I did have plans to go fishing today, bed fishing. I've located a bunch of bass on beds, but it's just freezing cold and cloudy. Well, it's not freezing, but it's cold and cloudy, which is no good for bed fishing. They tend to back off the beds a little bit when cold snaps come through, and of course visibility is a concern. So my original plans for filming today doesn't look like that's going to happen. However, I wanted to do some serious hand pouring, and I thought, well, I've never shown this pattern and quite this level of hand pouring on video before. I've done some really complex stuff, but this is my highest level for whatever that's worth. So we're going to be making a color that I call Emerald Gill. I've been trying to refine it for about a year. Like this one's taken a long time to develop. I even had Jetson Lure Company make me some eyes just to match this color. So we'll be showcasing those as well. You may have seen them on some other videos, but we're going to be using the 5-inch AI open pour mold, not the 6-inch AI open pour mold, and I'll show you why here in a second. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of not. But doing it in the 5-inch will make it all the more difficult, because the smaller space you're working in, the more difficult it is to pour precisely. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're doing. All right, this is our Lure Eyes booklet here. And these are, you guessed it, these are just like baseball card insert pages. Like all of us back in the 90s when baseball cards were a thing. So here is the green eyes, and I have it in several sizes. I have spent a ton of money on these, not gonna lie. But that is the eyeball that we are going to be working with today. Absolutely gorgeous. And so the idea is for the emerald green part of this pour to complement the green eye here. Anyone who is familiar with the Austin Powers series of movies, they were a big thing when I was younger. I just dated myself a little bit there. But the very first one, Dr. Evil, returns from being cryogenically frozen from the 60s, and now he's back in the 90s, and he's meeting at his underground lair somewhere outside of Las Vegas, New Mexico, or Nevada, wherever Las Vegas is. And he's meeting with his henchman, and he holds up his cat and says, "Look what you did to Mr. Bigglesworth," because the cat did not handle the unfreezing process very well. "Look at what I did to my 6-inch molds." Yes, this is real. Basically, not everything you read on the internet about cleaning aluminum is true. So if you ever read any articles that say, boil your aluminum in a solution of white vinegar and baking soda, pass. And of course, shout out to Dead On Plastics, only plastic we use here on the World's Worst Fishing, and AI Molds. Yeah, could not do it without those two companies. And as always, guys, thanks for supporting the World's Worst Fishing. Okay, so we actually have a picture example of when I've done it before. Okay, so yeah, you can see quite a few different greens being layered down, some blacks being layered down, lots of black and orange blended there in the head and nose, and sort of a kind of watermelon green pumpkin tail. So this is what we're going to be trying to do, and I try to maybe do it a little bit different each time. Like I said, you're always on a color building journey. You're never really done, but that is what we are essentially going for. And on these higher end pours that have a lot of layering happening, I always start with the dark layer first. So we're going to start with the black striping, similar to how we would pour a perch. Alright, I'm going to glove up, and we're going to start with the first mold here. And so I basically just need to lay down my black striping. And depending on how much work you want to do, kind of determines how many of these black stripes you lay down. So just like I would a perch. Nothing new here. However, we're doing a lot more of it and a lot more layering. There's going to be several colors all trying to play together on a pour like this, and we're doing it in a smaller 5-inch setting here. Right? So there's kind of what we have started. This is really similar to when I did the blue perch video about a month ago, where we did some like capsuling and dusting, except this one's all poured. So there's what we have, okay? I chose to stop it at 4. Now you could keep going. However, on this particular pattern, I like to see a little bit more of the tail color. Of course, you can pour more stripes and bring all these stripes all the way back. However, the most important part of putting down the black layer first is pouring some in the top portion of the head. So I have to kind of angle it correctly here to do it. But I like to lay down some black and just kind of let it sit in the front of the head portion, just like that. That is how I get, let me pull it up, that dark head. See how there's black in those heads? It's not just orange. I really want black up front. To me, that just completes the bait. If I'm going to have black pattern on the sides of my bait, I just think it looks really natural to also have some black in the heads. Okay, there they are. They look like they're going to be perch, but trust me, they ain't. Now we need to mix out some craw tube blend. This is what I like to pour my 5-inchers in. You can mix it with Swimbait blend, of course. Whatever your 2 favorite dead-on plastic blends are will work just fine. You can pour this in straight Swimbait blend, but for something like this, something that's going to be an expensive pour that I spend a lot of time with, I want the baits to be very durable, and we put enough mass in the tail section, you still get great wobble, even with a firm plastic. Alright, so here's the emerald in emerald gill. Dun 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 dun, roll credits. Alright. Emerald green is the base of it, just some regular Lure Works emerald green. Now if you want a pearlized effect of that, Dead On just released the Emerald City pigment right there. Gorgeous. You can kind of see how dark it is right there, that kind of dark green. Maybe. Absolutely gorgeous. However, for this particular one, I don't actually want the pearlized effect in the green. I want it to be just regular color. So I'm going to start with just a little bit. 2 drops. Let's go 3. As I like to do with a lot of my colors and layers, 1 drop of black will just kind of take the edge off. It's just going to darken it a smidge. I like to work in smidges here. Yeah. So now here's what we have. I'm going to drizzle some out on the table. Oop. So there's the difference. There it is without the black. There it is with the black. As you can see, very, very small refinements, I think, sort of win the day here. Okay, time to get down and dirty with this emerald color. You can see really, really gorgeous, and we put just some small size, 0.015 size black flake in it, just for a little bit of texture. Okay, we have all of these stripes here. I want the green to follow the stripes, so we basically have to pour double the amount of green, okay? Here's what I mean. We're going to start with 1. Okay, just a little bit from the top. Doing this real slow. I'm going to let it run down the side of that black. Now the same for the other side. Okay. Let it run down. So basically you have this kind of 3-layer triangle here. The green is now poured with the black on either side. And you guessed it, we're doing that for each one of those stripes on each half of each mold, 12 times. So lots of cup tilting here. Okay, let it run down. Do it to this side. Won't show you all of these, of course, but you get the drift. Very, very precise pouring. And the temperature of your plastic is everything. If your plastic is too hot here, you're not going to be able to control the flow as much. So viscosity is very important, whether you're going to place color up here in the nose or here in the tail. You know, a lot of people like to pour different tail colors. But, you know, trying to pour layers this close together in this sort of close proximity, you can see I'm really able to control where that plastic goes. I couldn't do that if it's too hot. And another thing, the blend of plastic has a lot to do with that as well. This craw tube blend is a thicker plastic. And so it's not going to just run a rat race in your mold like a softer worm blend would. Worm blend, this would actually be very difficult. So tube blend kind of helps me out there. So that's just one half of one mold. But as you can see, we now have like these emerald capsules around each black. Okay, holy cow, we have all of the green laid down, and of course on the very last one, messed it up a bit there. You can see I kind of over poured the green and there's a little air bubble there, but you just blast that with the heat gun and it comes right out. So a little on that one, but as you can see we have all of the emerald layers down, and now it's time for layer number 3. Loving that clarity even in a very firm blend like the tube blend. So anyway, that's kind of beside the point. But now we're going to mix up the third layer, which is going to be sort of a chartreuse green. So there's several different things that you can get away with here. Let's see, I know Lureworks has like a flow lime. Dead On has a char lime, and then they also have this neo lime. So we're going to go with this, and it will kind of go in between the layers. So the next step is really as simple as just filling in these gaps. Okay, so that's about 10 drops of the neo lime, and you can see it literally looks like Predator's blood from the movie Predator. However, I want to cut it a little bit with a little bit of brown, okay? So this is MF Olive. This is probably now my new favorite brown, because it's got a little green hue to it, but it's definitely a gorgeous shade of brown by itself. And we just kind of want to add enough just to take the edge off of the brightness of the green. But I still like that chartreuse to it. Yeah, you can see that's already changed a little bit. Maybe one more. You know, you got to keep in mind the more color you add, the thicker the saturation will be. And then after that, we're just going to add a little bit of small flake. In fact, I'll just show you that real fast. Again, we're working with very small refinements, so not a lot of black flake. I mean, we're just sprinkling it, just like putting pepper on your food. Okay, here we go. Here's what we have, and like I said, we just want to fill in these gaps. I like to do these different layers of green here, and then just let it fill that space in. Okay, so there's what we have. There's one of them. Alright, so now we want to do the next one. Okay, and really you could just skin pour the whole thing, but I like to be a little bit more precise because it's almost like I want this green next to the emerald, next to the black, next to the next emerald, and so on. They're not necessarily on top of each other, however they will kind of melt into each other once heat is introduced. Okay, so there we have that, and then one more on the end. I like to do one more on the end, just to kind of complete the pattern, right? So we have our green, 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 and green. Alright, and now a little bit of orange for the noses. The Dead On Plastics orange is very strong. So, oops, accidentally got one extra drop in there, but we're not using much, maybe 3 or 4 drops total, and that's 3 drops worth right there. So let's see about how thick that's going to be. We might thicken it up a smidge there. Yeah, so we'll do one more for a grand total of 4 drops. Add a little bit of black flake to that, and that's all she wrote. Okay, here is the last piece of the puzzle. We're basically just going to fill in that throat and nose area with the orange. Kind of let it flow down a little bit, flow all the way up in there, and then we're just going to let it sit like that to kind of start setting up so that it holds itself in place. And that's it. It is easy as that. This is like the one step that is fun because, hey, you only need to tilt the cup once, right? We're done. That is it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so you can see just this mold alone, let's count the number of times we had to place color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So counting every single individual layer, it's 18 of those times what? We're doing 6 of these? Yeah, 6 of these. So 12. So 12 total halves that we had to do that 18 times. All right, so next up is where heat, I guess, becomes involved. Obviously, a hot plate or cooking griddle, something like that, that gets very hot is, absolutely a must-have, I think, when pouring in aluminum. So, I guess the most common way is to go ahead and close the molds and then pour your bodies and then just let them cook on the griddle. Bake them as long as you want to try to get all your layers to melt together. That way there's no cold cracking between these between your poured layers, and you kind of get a nice melting effect of color. I actually do things a little bit differently. I have a process that I've developed to melt my layers together that is not just closing them up and putting them on the heat griddle and then just cooking them. It's a process that I've developed. I don't show it, so I'll just be upfront. It's a process that I keep secret. I'm very, very transparent about how to do all this stuff. I enjoy teaching it, but there are a few things that I have spent a lot of time figuring out how to do that, at least for the time being, I'm keeping them to myself. One of which is how I do a little bit of my thermal blending. However, there are people using convection ovens, torches, heat griddles. So what I'm going to do is I'll meet you back whenever my molds are closed up. Okay, I already poured the bellies. Welcome back, by the way. And it's just white mica powder, just some straight white pearl. I really like a white pearl belly. If you look at most fish in nature, I'll just use this sexy shad example here. Most fish in nature have some sort of a white belly, white underside, and it gets darker towards the top. All right, for the top color, we're gonna do about 2 drops of green pumpkin. Oh, there it is, 109. And 2 drops of black. This gives us a nice dark watermelon, sort of. And that's pretty much all we're doing for the top. Sometimes I like to put a little bit of flake in that, but then you have to worry about getting your temperatures just right, because the flake will kind of sink a lot of times in these open pours. So we are not even going to worry about that, but there it is. All right, now we're just going to top one of these off, just on camera to show you guys. Hopefully I don't mess it up. Normally I'm a little bit down closer to the molds to pour these, but as you can see, it's a very see-through top, right? You can kind of still see through it a little bit, and that's on purpose. We want things to be to be see-through, to allow light refraction, so that it kind of plays a little trick on the mind. The great Jeff Peel, the most talented hand pourer of all time, likes to refer to it as the illusion of it. Okay, so I have the molds over here sitting on some pieces of aluminum. That's actually a new AI mold that we have not yet released, but it's coming soon. And that aluminum will draw the heat out of the molds. So it's kind of a little way to cool them down quickly, but not too quickly that you're then going to get like a cave dimple in the top. So let's see how we did. Join me in a drum roll, please. Dun 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 dun. Let's see if I got it. Yeah. Let's zoom in. Hopefully this is juicy. Ooh. Which way is it gonna come off? Okay, that way. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. Look at that. That is some emerald gill madness. Yeah, you can see the layers just kind of are melted together, and just creates a really, really gorgeous palette, which to me goes really well with those eyes. And there's the second one from mold 2. Looking good, looking good. Alright, we'll show you the next one. Alright, I went ahead and took them all out of the molds just to save time. And now I'm going to glue the eyeballs on, which is nothing more than a dab of Loctite gel. Obviously right here in the eye socket. And then you place the eye in. Nothing crazy. And you see this little bit of flashing on the bottom there? Here's how I get rid of that. I'll show you this real fast, because that's something important to know, because sometimes when you're getting these molds really hot, that happens. You just blast it real quick with your heat gun. Make sure that to keep your heat gun moving like you see me doing. That way you don't just melt the whole thing. And you basically just do that until that flashing is gone. I mean, one more little quick shout out to these eyes. Oh, I just love it. And there we go. There it is. It's like holding a bunch of little 5-inch paintings, you know, the layering and coloring. It paints a picture, so to speak, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. Let me bring us in a little closer there. Yeah. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Love seeing it from different angles there. You can see the top is quite see-through. You can kind of see the skins as they are built on either side. And just a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern. Well, there's a little thumbnail action for you there. At least I think that's going to be thumbnail. So tried to lay them out nice. But anyway, that is emerald gill. And I wanted to show this just to show some high-end hand pouring techniques and ideas, and just kind of have a conversation with y'all on camera about it. You know, my hand pour videos don't necessarily get all the views that I wish that they would, but it's not always about that. And this is what I consider just one of the highest forms of soft plastics, is trying to build, you know, layers of colors to achieve a pattern and a lifelike real pattern. So we're out of here.